that Facebook ads might not be for you, or perhaps you've tried them and you simply didn't get the results that you were looking for, then you're going to get so much value from today's special guest. A lot of what we're going to talk about today is something that's powerful when it comes to actually getting results with Facebook ads, and that is copy. It does matter. The words that we use matter. And just to wet your whistle just a little bit more on the topic, I've heard a lot of Facebook pros, and we're going to ask our special guest today about this, but I've heard a lot saying that Facebook ad costs are down anywhere from 40 to 60% right now. So there's a huge opportunity with Facebook ads, even bigger than it has been potentially in the past. So if you have an interest, or if you're wondering, can you do it, then you're going to want to lean in and tune in to our special guests today. So as you guys are coming in, I would love for you to just drop me a quick little comment in and say, hey, where in the world are you? What's the weather like where you are? I see we have Prashant in India. Hello, glad you're here. And again, love to know how you guys are faring. I know that a lot of us are, homebound right now, potentially a little nutty right now with all this cray stuff that's going on. Curious as to how you guys are faring. So love to hear from you. And don't hesitate to ask questions as we go. We will definitely pop those in. And I want to share that we have, Victoria from Corpus Christi. Glad you're here, Victoria. We have our special sponsor for today's broadcast is easel.com. Hey, Claire from Nottingham in the UK. Wow, that's awesome. So glad you're here. Literally people from all over the world. That's what is incredible to me. Northern Canada, snowy and cold. Ooh. So I'm in Tampa, Florida. For those of you who, if this is your first time, you've never been on one of my lives before, my name is Kim Garst. I am based in Tampa, Florida. I'm an online business strategist, and I love shortening the learning curve for those who are interested in growing their businesses with digital and social media. We have Sally. Hey, Sally, beautiful weather here. Yeah, here in Tampa as well. It is gorgeous out this morning. It's a little, I always hesitate to say it's nippy. It's nippy for this time of the year. I think it was in the 60s here this morning. So, hey, Paul, so glad to see you. I'm so appreciative you're always on my lives. Hey, Chuck, good to see you too. Charlottesville, Virginia, glad to hear you're safe. Yes. So much stuff going on these days. Portugal. Hey, Marco. Glad to see you. So easel.com is our sponsor for today's show. And as always, guys, we do every show. Again, if you're brand new, never been on one of our shows before, on my show before, then you may not know this, but those of you who are oldies but goodies know that we do giveaways each and every week. And this week we're going to give away the little webcam cover. It's cute, as you can see. It's got the little eyeballs. It just slips over your webcam. That way nobody can spy on you, which is always a good thing, right? And then we're also giving away the little selfie light, snaps on the top of your phone and gives you a way to gives you a great light source, so that when you take those selfies or do those videos with your cell phone, you come out looking awesome, which is always a good thing. And then we're also giving away choosing three winners for 3 months of easel.com. So the way we pick you guys who's going to win is if you get an aha, if something is said during today's show that you're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, I didn't know that, or oh my gosh, sometimes things circle back. Maybe you've heard it or you knew it, but it really resonated with you in the moment. So if you have those aha moments, just drop those in, hashtag aha, and that's how we decide. We pick those from those that have aha moments. The winners will be chosen from those who share their ahas with us. So go crazy with the ahas is what I'm saying. Is everybody good with the ahas? And there is a 15-second delivery or delay, sorry. And Paul says, aha, giveaways. Yes. Paul is an oldie, so meaning he's on a lot of the live shows, and he knows the scoop. He knows the aha moments are important. Yes, they're tied to the giveaways. Okay, so today, guys, we have, like I said before, a fabulous guest. We're going to be talking about Facebook ads. And for those of you who are like, I know, reluctant, perhaps I know a lot of my community has been a little resistant to really embracing Facebook ads. Hopefully, we will give you some great tips today that you're going to be like, okay, I'm ready to dip my toe into this. All right. So I'm excited that you're here. There's no accidents. If you're here, you're meant to be here. So let me introduce you to my wonderful guest. His name is Gavin. And Gavin Bell, I'm sorry, I should have fully introduced him. But Gavin is a multi-award winning entrepreneur, speaker, podcast host, and director of Fat Pony. It's a Facebook advertising agency that works with brands literally across the world. Gavin helps brands to utilize Facebook in a way that not only builds their audience, but turns that attention into revenue. Yes, who doesn't want that, right? His work has been featured on Virgin.com, Huffington Post, Entrepreneur on Fire, Kissmetrics, and Social Media Examiner. I've known Gavin or known of him for several years. I just got to meet him in person for the first time at Social Media Marketing World. And I'm warning you, he does have an amazing accent. He's from Scotland. And those of us in the US know that sometimes the accents do intrigue us. So he's easy to listen to. So give him a big hand. Woo-hoo! Welcome, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Kim. Thanks for the
Yeah.
introduction. And I got to say, your accent, I think maybe tops mine.
Oh, you think? I don't know. When I first
Yes.
started with Periscope, I was like, there was all these people from literally all over the world, and I was like, I got to get an accent. And then everybody's like, "You got one," and I'm like, "No, I don't." It just sounds like it's funny. We're really fascinated. I don't know if you guys are in Scotland, but very fascinated by accents. I don't know why, but it's something. It's just intriguing to me. I always love a good accent.
Yes. Funny, I do, but maybe
So,
not as much as.
oh, we're getting a little glitchy there. Hopefully, that'll equal out, and we won't um, lose you. All right, so I know, like a lot of people, and you've probably run into this, and especially since this is your business across the board, and a lot of what you do is Facebook ads. Um, but let's talk about why every person that owns a business, every marketer, I think everybody that owns a business should consider themselves a marketer. Um, what, in your opinion, why should they even consider using Facebook ads?
Yeah, so it's a great question because I think there's a lot of people out there that maybe are reluctant to use Facebook, and because of all the things that have happened in the news and in the past, and they don't like Facebook for personal reasons. But I always say that that's not necessarily a decision, just a reason to stop using Facebook from a business perspective. From a business perspective, we need to look at what are our biggest opportunities, where are the areas in which advertising areas, marketing areas, those areas that we can use to grow our business. And there's no doubt Facebook and Facebook advertising specifically is main key areas. I would go as far as saying that it's still to this day, despite ad costs maybe rising, uh, a business's best opportunity, because there's no other platform like it where we can serve an ad, a very specific ad and message to a very specific group and audience of people, and very accurately track does it work, and does and it just all the results that people have. It's not by mistake. It's incredibly powerful. And so, whether you dislike Facebook from a personal perspective, you can't deny it's powerful from a business perspective. So it's something that I'd be looking at.
Yeah, I think Facebook ads are one of those most undervalued by a lot of marketers. They're a little scared of it, perhaps in some cases. And in some cases, it's, the learning curve, like, how do I do it? Do I have to spend a lot of money? And it's just kind of like this black abyss that they just don't know enough about. Or in some cases, I think some people have tried them and just didn't get good results with them. Again, some of it could go back to just not knowing how, right? Which is why we're here. We're hoping to educate a little bit more and encourage you guys to step into it. So I would like to bust the myth that you really have to spend a bunch of money to get results with Facebook ads. For those that think, oh my gosh, I don't have enough money. I'm a small business owner. I'm operating on a shoestring. Can they, in your opinion, get results using Facebook ads?
Absolutely. And I think first of all, what we determine what we deem a result. So what is a result for us? Is it generating leads? Is it a little bit more reach? Is it more people watching our videos? Understanding what that, because from effective, we can start from as little as $1 a day. So if we want to start on the smallest, we start from $1 a day. And when we're spending that, we need to look at, right, okay, well, do we want to spend $1 on, promoting the video content that we produce to get more people watching that? Do we want to send people to our website or traffic? Do we want to send people to a free guide, generate downloads? But on the flip, what we also understand is if your customer is worth you, let's say $5,000, spending $1 a day on Facebook to try and acquire a customer of $5,000, it's going to take you some time to get there. So although you can spend small amounts of money, you do need to understand.
I'm sorry, Gavin, can I interrupt just for a second?
Yes.
You're super glitchy and we're catching like literally every other word.
Oh,
Can we get you to refresh maybe and see if we can fix
let's
this?
do that.
Because
Yes.
you are so amazing. I don't want anybody to miss any of this, especially this part where it comes to um, understanding that you don't have to spend a ton of money, or if your customer acquisition cost on Facebook. Let's say, for example, it's going to cost you $20 to get a new customer, but that customer spent $40. Then would you trade 40 for 20? Well, of course you would, right? That would be ridiculous not to. So, oh yay, I think maybe we fixed the glitch. Let's see. So,
Okay.
Gavin,
Can you
let's
hear me
start
okay?
over with that question, which was, if you think you have to be, let's see, what was it? Busting the myth, big dollars. Do you have to spend big dollars to be successful on Facebook with Facebook ads?
So the reality is no, not. You can start as little as $1 a day with Facebook advertising. What I was getting at, one of the things that we need to understand first and foremost is what is a result for us. Are we looking to generate more reach, more video views, more engagement, more clicks, more leads, and more customers? And the reality is when it comes to spending money on Facebook, even if you are spending large amounts of money, if you're able, and I think this is what you were getting at there, Kim, if you're able to spend $5 and make 20, or spend $50 and make 2,000, whatever it might be, then actually the cost to you as a business, so not necessarily the cost in, but the cost to you, isn't a whole lot at all. But going back to what I was saying is, we can spend $1 a day from a minimum perspective, and that is going to get us results. More reach, more leads, more customers. It might just take us a little bit more time, because what we need to look at is, if a customer is worth a lot of money to us, then we have to understand that we might need to spend more money to try and acquire that customer, to get them into our ecosystem. So we can start from super, like I say, a really small amount per day. It just might take you a little bit longer to get the results that you want to maybe achieve. However, saying that, there are little tactics that we can do that start very small amounts. On Facebook, we've got these things called custom audiences, or retargeting ads, where we can retarget people, such as people who've been on our website, people that have watched our videos, people on our email list. We can add to those people. And that doesn't cost us a lot of money whatsoever, especially if our audience is relatively small. So sometimes what we can do, you know, for clients, we can set up a retargeting ad, retargeting their email list, website traffic, video views. Might set it for $2 a day and have that running all the time. And I guarantee you that will always be the best performing ad from a return on ad spend perspective.
I love that. And that's what I try to convince people all the time. I'm like, you don't have to spend a ton of money. You get started. And what I have found, and I think this is an interesting point, and I would love your feedback on it, is when you are spending money on Facebook within their ads ecosystem, then a natural byproduct of that is that they give you more reach too, like on your fan page, for example. Is that true, or is that just me thinking that that's true? I'd love to know your take on it. If you're spending like $1 a day or $5 a day or whatever it is, Facebook is going to see that you as a business on your fan page in particular, your business page in particular, is the base for that. So a lot of your existing content that's not ad based could potentially get more reach. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think there's necessarily a rule or whatever you want to call it that Facebook will necessarily award you in the algorithm more for spending money. But what definitely does happen is if you are spending money on ads, even if it's small amounts, what's going to happen is the net effect of that is going to be much greater. So if you post something and you've been running ads for years, of course, you might, if you're running ads for, let's say, an e-commerce brand, or you are an e-commerce brand and you're running ads trying to get people to purchase those products. Well, people will purchase those products, hopefully, but you're also going to be generating an audience, just people that come across your ad over the years, click through, follow the page. And so whenever you're posting ads, if your fans of your Facebook page are within that audience, naturally they're going to see that ad, and they're going to be the people that are more likely to like, comment, and share. And if more people are like, commenting, and sharing on your content, then that's going to be rewarded more in the algorithm. So typically what you do find is the pages with larger audiences, the pages that are running ads, are the ones that do get better organic reach within Facebook. Not necessarily because Facebook are just rewarding you for spending money, but because of the other things that happen. Also, if you're spending money on ads, what happens is people will sometimes share, like, comment on those ads, which then means that they get organic reach. And that will often, when you look at your statistics, you'll see that whenever you spend more money, you also get more organic reach as well. But it's because people are engaging with those ads. If they're high quality ad, you're promoting good quality content.
Yeah. Much better explanation than mine. Much better. That's why you're the pro. Much better. So you do get the byproduct of it is organic, but you do get more reach, but it's because of the ad itself, not necessarily an outside impact of the ad. So much better said than I worded it. So in your experience, I think sometimes people think that, because they're coaches or they are, selling a digital product or whatnot, that doesn't sell as well as a physical product. What, in your opinion, does sell really well on Facebook ads, use or leveraging the power of Facebook ads?
Great question. And the answer to that, to be honest, is I've seen everything sell well on Facebook ads, because it's not necessarily here's where I think a lot of people get hung up, which is they worry too much about the thing that they're selling, whereas the reality is it's how you package up the thing that you're selling. So I could have the worst product in the world, but if I can, and you might have the best product in the world, but if I can market and package my thing up into a nicer sounding offer, my ad will always perform better than yours, and the product will do better than yours because of just how it's marketed, which isn't right. But it means that, we can have the best product in the world, but unless we're able to market it well, it's not going to sell. So I've seen, super cool brands and products and things sell, but I've also seen really boring and unsexy things sell, like pension reviews and types of things that you would never think are cool for a social media audience. But because you're able, or the client or the business was able to package it up in a way that actually is quite interesting, or they're targeting on Facebook. Why Facebook powerful? It's done really well. So I'm never concerned, is it a digital product, a physical product, is it e-commerce, services, I'm more interested in, can we come up with an offer and copy that is compelling to the audience that we're putting after, and does it really solve a problem to them? And if we can do that, then I know it's going to sell.
Yeah, such a great answer. And I just recently, like as about a month ago, when all this started to happen, and a lot of people in my space lost revenue streams, I put together a very messy, I call it, I did it down and dirty, messy course on called PDF to Profit, which was basically designed to help people put their offers together. Because if you have a very similar product to somebody else, but you can, to your point, snazz it up, put some bonuses with it, and package it better than your competitor, you're going to win hands down. So I think lots of times people just think about exactly what you just said, which is, I've got a product, I just need to sell this product, and they don't look at it from the perspective of making it more value based to their buyer, and it does matter. So I love that. I love that you said that. So if there's somebody watching right now or listening that has tried Facebook ads before, and they're not a fan for whatever they're, most likely if they're not a fan, it's because they have not had good success with them. What would you say to that person now, and from an encouragement standpoint?
Yeah, I'll lead with that, saying that 99% of time, and I've looked in hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of ad accounts, and 99% of the time when somebody hasn't seen results with Facebook, it's because they have made some sort of mistake, or there's a clear reason for me and why they've not had results. So it tends to typically be like an understanding of the platform problem. But what happens is they then blame Facebook for not working. So, I would say spend some time really delving into how Facebook can work, and the kind of smaller campaigns that you can do, like I spoke about the retargeting ads, and how you can start with something which is low budget and typically always going to be your best performing ad. Don't overcomplicate it and start thinking about this massively complex funnel that you want to set up straight away. Start small, start simple, and one thing I would always say is a great place to start is literally just produce content and use Facebook ads to promote that content out to people. And that way you can start trying what content works, what doesn't work, and you can start to try and see and build your audience and your customer avatar. And then that's going to help you when it comes to creating ads and putting your offers out there into the world. So I would, if you've not had results, what I would say is there's probably a reason for that. And spend some time educating yourself on the Facebook platform, and then figure out, can it work for me or not. And one thing I'd add to that as well is, whenever we get inquiries for the agency side, people wanting us to run their ads for them, is I always say to them, like, spend some time learning the ad platform first. But even if you're planning on outsourcing it and having someone else do it, spend some time learning the platform first, because it means you can have better conversations, understand what's going on, what on in that problem, that situation. I think it's, if you're thinking about running ads on Facebook or any platform, it's very important for you to have a really clear understanding of how it works, or at least the conversations you need to have if you want to hire it out.
Yeah, such a great answer. When it comes to operating on a limited budget, let's say, because a lot of people even are worried about the amount of money that they have to spend, because they automatically assume it's a loss leader instead of it being a profit center. I don't know why, but it's just a mindset, I think, for a lot of people. So if you're operating on that shoestring budget, what are like some shoulds and maybe some should nots? Like, what are like just some core basic things? One of the things you just mentioned was starting with just content and not worrying about the sell out the gate. Do you have any other like little nuggets that you could drop that might be a great place for people to get started? They're operating on that small budget.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's two things I would say people should do. Is one, like you just mentioned, the content creation. So focus on content strategy and start producing content regularly. And you can then use Facebook to promote that out to larger audiences if you want to. And you can do that on smaller budgets. So, you can just stick £1 behind this one, $2 behind this one, for example. Another, I mean, on top of that as well, from a content side of things, is when you produce content regularly, organically, you'll be able to see what's working and what's not working pretty quickly. You post a video in a couple of hours. Does it have a set number of likes, comments, and shares? Okay, well, you can, based on your numbers in the past, you can very quickly see if that's performing well or not. If it's performing well, then you can put some money behind it and promote that out to a larger audience, adding fuel to the fire, essentially. Instead of, one mistake that I see happen a lot is people will spend money on something that doesn't work. Whereas what we should do is just spend the money on the things that are already working, adding fuel to that fire. So that's one thing. A second thing is, I kind of touched upon it, is start a retargeting campaign. So there is a little bit of education that needs to happen before you start retargeting, because you have to look at things like the Facebook pixel, and setting up tracking, etc. But read into Facebook retargeting, and I would set up a small retargeting campaign. So if anyone has been on your website, anyone has watched your videos, anyone on your mailing list, and retarget these groups of people at something like $1, $2, $3 a day with an offer, whether that's a free guide that you have, whether that is, if you're an e-commerce brand, bring these people back to the checkout if they've added to cart. Whether you have a consultation, you're trying to get people to book into a free consultation, send them there. And this always performs really well because a couple of reasons. One, these people already know who you are. They've already had a touch of your brand. So when we retarget them, you're simply just bringing them back. Because sometimes people maybe didn't take the action that you wanted them to take, not being interested, but maybe they're distracted. Maybe they're locked down at home. Kids came and distracted them before they got a chance to fill out your form. So simply targeting to bring them back. Also, it's much lower budget because, like I say, these people already know who you are. Facebook understands that, and so you can get into their heads for a lot less. And it's much easier to re-engage people that already know who you are, as opposed to trying to go out and get new customers coming in constantly. So two things really is focus on your content, and also look at using retargeting ads.
I love it. Love it. Great answer. And, for those of you who are like, well, what's retargeting? Have you ever gone like to a website, gone to Amazon, you look at something and then you come back to Facebook and lo and behold, there's that same thing you just looked at. Like there's that pair of shoes, the pink pair, not the red pair, the pink pair that you just looked at, and it's in your Facebook feed. That surfaces that thing you just looked at. You might not have purchased it, but you were already very interested in that thing. So the point of the retargeting is that you really bring people back into the fold, and present, and then they're like, okay, how did they know that? Like, how do they know I was just looking at the pink shoes on Amazon? It's magic, but you can do it too. That's the point. You think only the big boys can do it. No, you can do it too. And it gives people, again, like maybe the doorbell rings, or the kids are pulling and tugging and want to do, hey, mommy or daddy, I need you to do X, Y, Z, right? And they forget, but when they come back to Facebook, there it is again, and it works, guys. The retargeting absolutely is an extremely powerful tool, and I highly recommend that you leverage it moving forward. I mean, just retargeting people from your website, you have no frame of reference most of the time for who those people are, but using retargeting gives you an opportunity to give a touch point, and ultimately maybe sell something, or get them on your mailing list in some capacity based on your Facebook ad strategy. So it's incredibly powerful. Definitely wanted to explain that a little bit more in case somebody didn't understand retargeting. So let's just take a little bit of a pivot here, and let's get into the actual copy piece, which is so important. Words matter. Getting people to activate through words is a stress point, I think, for a lot of people, but it doesn't have to be so hard. So I want to pick Gavin's brain a little bit here and have some conversations around that. What is one of the most common mistakes that you see people make when it comes to writing copy for their Facebook ads?
Yeah, I think the there's two actually that come to the top of my mind. The first one is talking about features rather than benefits. So when we're talking about a product, a service, whatever it might be, oftentimes people will try and tell you about the product or the service as opposed to the impact that that product or service will have on that person's life. So a good example might be, for example, if you are joining a membership site and they tell you you get to join the community, you get to access to our 63-page guide, you get access to some cool training videos. Okay, you're telling me the features there. That's the things that are inside the academy or the membership. But like, why? What's cool about video or a 63-page guide? What we need to do is talk about the benefits. So, one of the ways that we can do that is what I call the so that method, which is where you list the feature, as you maybe would, you put so that on the end of that sentence, and it immediately forces you almost to talk about the benefit. So for example, it might be you get access to the 63-page guide so that you can then discover the 4 ways to improve your sleep in 10 days or something. I'm just making this up. So that method allows you to talk about the benefits rather than the features. The second thing that comes to my head is actually, now that I think of it, just really the same thing, which is people talking too much about themselves as opposed to the people that they're targeting. So we need to remember that when somebody sees your ad in their feed, they don't know who you are. They quite frankly don't care who you are, and they don't really care what you say either. And so we have to work doubly hard to get these people to know who we are, or to pay attention so they actually consume the content that we put out there into the ad. And if we talk about ourselves, game over. They're going to ignore it. They're going to move on, and we've just lost an opportunity. If we can talk about them and the benefits to them or the problems that they're facing, then we can hook them in and get them interested to read the rest of the ad and hopefully take the action that we want them to take. So it's really about the benefits to the consumer and also talking to the consumer rather than about us or our product.
Yeah, such a great answer too. I think that lots of times when we get excited about our own product or service, and lots of times we're like, okay, what's in the box? What's in the box? Let me tell everybody what's in the box. But people don't they just want the transformation. They don't buy our product or service. They buy the end result. And I think we really have to embrace that when it comes to writing our copy and presenting it across the board, so that people are more interested in our thing. Because at the end of the day, it's not about us at all. It's not about our product. It's not about our service. It's not about what we're selling, how we show up. None of that. People don't care about that at all. You're right. I totally agree with you. So when I know a lot of people are sometimes a little bit scared about being polarizing, but when it comes to copy, what is a technique for attracting the right person to your offer and simultaneously repelling the wrong people with the ad copy?
Yeah, so I think you're totally right. A lot of people don't like being polarizing, and I'm the same. I'm not really a fan of being this polarizing person. It's just not really in my nature. So what we can do is but we don't. What we have to understand is polarizing doesn't have to be controversial. And so what I like to do is ask what I call a yes question. And a yes question always goes at the top of my ad, and it's a question that we ask designed for only our audience, the people that we actually want to target, would say yes to. And everybody else would say no to, because they're not interested in that thing. So it might be as simple as something like, are you interested in becoming the best bass player in the world? Or are you interested in becoming a better bass player? Now we ask that question as the first part of our ad. And if you're scrolling through Facebook and you see, are you interested in becoming a better bass player? If you're interested in becoming a better bass player, then you're going to read the rest of the ad. If you're not interested in becoming a better bass player, like me, for example, if I saw that ad, I'd be like, it's not relevant to me. I'm going to move on. We've just immediately polarized that audience in a non-controversial way, which makes me happy and also hopefully makes that person happy too. And so, if we are if we have a bass guitar course, bass guitar membership, and we have that question, that hook, then if somebody answers yes to that question, reads the rest of the copy, we know that that person is a potential candidate for the course or the membership. So it's a simple little technique, just asking a yes question that we can use in our ads to get more people hooked in. So if you're writing ads, you're thinking about writing ads, I'd always ask yourself, what would my audience say yes to? What would my perfect customer say yes to that nobody else would say yes to?
So I don't know if you guys caught that, but that was just such a simple, very, very simple strategy of just opening up your ad copy with a question about, are you interested in whatever it is that your solution is, right? And when you do that, you are attracting the right person and you are also repelling the wrong person. And very simple strategy, but it absolutely does work because the person who's interested is going to read on. The person who's not is going to bounce and continue to scroll, which it matters. Then you've got the right people and you're not wasting your time or theirs, which is important. So what is one way that you can use yourself or your clients that would help, like with cold audiences? And when I say cold audiences, that's basically a stranger, somebody who has no frame of reference for you or your company, your brand, but somebody, again, that has no concept of who you are. How can you use words to make them feel like the ad is just for them?
Yeah. So I guess there's two parts to this, which is one, we need to get the targeting right. Now, the targeting is going to be vastly different based on who you're going after. But let's say we are a local business in, I don't know, Edinburgh, where I live. So we're a local business in Edinburgh. Now, if we are trying to target people within Edinburgh, what we can do is we can start to say, well, how can we make this ad relevant to people in Edinburgh? Now, there's some incredibly simple ways that we can do this, such as just mentioning the word Edinburgh in our ad copy. Because if somebody sees the word Edinburgh, maybe a picture of Edinburgh, it immediately becomes relevant to that person because they know that that ad is for them. And we can go even more specific with this. Let's say that we're a coffee shop in Edinburgh and we have a special offer on for university students. We can jump into Facebook's targeting and we can say, I want to target people that study at Edinburgh University, so the University of Edinburgh. Then in our ad copy, we can ask a yes question and combine the relevancy of mentioning the place to really hook people in. So we could say something along the lines of, are you a coffee lover are you studying at Edinburgh University and love coffee, or something along those lines? That's really going to hook that person in because yes, they like coffee. Yes, they study at Edinburgh University, and yes, they're in Edinburgh. And we've been able to target them, and we've been able to then, use our copy in a way that makes that ad feel like to that person like it's for them, exactly how you said it. And that's really what we're always trying to do with our ads, is how can we make the ad about that person and make that person feel like we actually care. And so just a simple tactic of mentioning a place or mentioning a thing or a problem that you have mutual connection with that person. So it might be, back pain, for example. If somebody has back pain and you mention back pain in the ad copy, that can make it slightly more relevant. Maybe not 100% relevant, but think of the ways that you can mention words or phrases or things that connect you as a business with that person. So, for example, mentioning the city or the town or the university in this example.
Yeah, I think that's one of the great value adds that Facebook brings our way because for people who don't already have a community, they don't have a list, for example, or they don't have a blog that drives a ton of traffic. Facebook ads gives us the fastest route to the money, because they give us targeting, they give us eyeballs, they give us the ability to put our offers in front of exactly the right people without all of the other legwork that goes into building out our communities. And then that can be time consuming. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but Facebook ads really give us an opportunity to touch cold audiences, people who don't know us already, and using this one simple strategy that Gavin just talked about, which is really keying in on addressing them and letting them know that you see them, that you understand them, that you can relate to them, and that your service or your product is a solution for their pain point. And the copy is where you can do that. It's such a great opportunity, again, to really attract the right people and convert them, to ultimately either into your community, aka mostly your list, I hope, and then you get them at some point to say yes to spending money with you. So it's the fastest route to really putting some juice into your business, in my opinion. Even if you don't, especially from a cold audience standpoint, if you don't already have a community, if you don't have a big list, opportunities knocking, people. I'm just saying. Okay, so I know that a lot of people are scanning on Facebook. You probably know this too, Gavin. They're scanning. They're reading ad copy if it interests them very quickly. So, what's a good technique, in your opinion, to grab the attention with your ad of people who are simply skimming versus really reading? So, let's say they stop on your ad, but again, they're just probably just whoop, they do a quick, eyes down, and what is going to keep them actually engaged with the ad or actually reading the ad instead of just skimming over it?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a number of things that are going to help you in achieving this, such as, basically, if we can hook that person in with the yes question, then they're going to read the rest of the ad copy, or they're at least more open to reading the rest of the ad copy. But the job isn't done. If we think of email marketing here, actually, if we get the subject line right, they might open the email, but that doesn't mean they're going to read through the email and click. We still have work to do, and it's the same with the ad copy. If our creative and our headline and our yes question grabs their attention and gets them to look at the ad, we still have a lot of work to do to get that person to take the action. So talking about benefits is going to be one massive factor in that, as opposed to features. And another thing that I like to do is always try and think about what numbers can you use to hook somebody in and to show that you're actually worth listening to. So, if you have a membership site, let's say with 500 people in it, rather than just saying, come and join my membership site, you might use a line such as, come and join the 500 other entrepreneurs that are scaling their businesses inside the academy. Something along those lines is much more, using numbers allows you to stand out a lot more than just using words, for example, like that example there. So that's going to be a big thing. Another big thing is I always like to talk about yes question, benefits, and then the last part is the offer. So in fact, I'll tell you my kind of ad copy structure, which is hook, story, offer. So we always try and hook them in with the question. Then we get into the story. Now, the story for you can either be benefits, or it can be an actual story. If you have a story connected to your business, your lead magnet, the reason that you're doing what you're doing, your why, then feel free to tell that story in there, because people love a story. If it's not something that's necessarily story driven, that's when we would use the benefits. And then we have the offer, so the last part, and that's where I like to really drive in on the numbers. But another big thing is using the URL that you're trying to send people to in the actual ad copy itself. So rather than having the URL just in the link part when you're creating the Facebook ad, is actually get it in there once, if not even twice, in the ad copy itself. And you'll find that by doing that, if you use that 3-stage process, hook, story, offer, you'll bring people in, get their attention, consuming the ad, and then you'll get a much higher click-through rate of people actually taking the action, which of course is what we all want.
Yeah. And that was actually one of my questions. I really wanted to key in on that. So I'm so glad you mentioned it. Obviously, Facebook gives us a call to action button, right? So, in your opinion, and I really wanted to key in on that because what's the importance of having the button and putting the actual link in the ad copy in a couple of places? What's it? I mean, I've seen a lot of people actually not even have a call to action, which I want to talk about in just a second too. But it, I'd love your take on why do you put it in a couple of places in the ad copy, because I want people to really understand the importance of the link part of your answer.
Yeah. So, if you think about a Facebook ad in your feed, you've got the text, you've got the creative, so the image or the video, whatever it might be, and you've got that little grey bar with the headline, and then a little button that says "Learn more" or whatever it might say. Now, for me, as somebody that is always trying to get somebody to take an action with my ad, so whenever I create an ad, I'm always trying to get somebody to take an action, unless I'm trying to maybe get more video views on Facebook, for example. But let's say a typical campaign when we're trying to get more people to download a guide or sign up to a webinar or buy a product, we're always trying to maximize the number of chances that someone will take that action. And one thing I want to make clear here is we should only ever have one call to action on an ad. So we're only ever asking somebody to do one thing. So we don't want to do, have an ad that says, click here to buy my product, but also like my page and also drop a comment below. We only want to ask them to do one thing. And so how do we maximize the number of chances that somebody will take that? Well, that's why we really add the URL into the ad copy as well. Because if we don't, we're relying on somebody clicking on that gray bar or the photo in our ad to, take the next step. Whereas if somebody is reading ad copy and they're really hooked into the story or the benefits, it might sound silly, but their eyes are on the text part of the ad. And so we want to make sure that the URL is in there, showing up blue in a wall of black text saying click me, click me, click me, to just give us a better opportunity that that person is going to take that action. So we're really just, like I say, giving ourselves a bigger opportunity that they take that next step. And so I always want to make sure that we get that in there. And we found in tests that by doing that, the click-through rate always, always, always increases. And so it's just a rule of thumb now that I would always say include the URL in the ad copy.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that because we have found exactly the same thing, that the click through rates absolutely go up. And it's kind of interesting because even in my ebooks or guides that I've created over the years, I always had three places within the ebook where I would send them to the next thing, one thing, not to your point, not multiple things. And I think it follows along with that. If you get them to a certain place in your ad copy and there's a link, boom, they're already interested. They know they want more info, so they just go. They don't read on. So when you give people an opportunity to just follow along with the copy, they know they're interested, so they click and go. Maybe they read a little bit more, and there's the link again. Or to Gavin's point, they get all the way to the bottom, and you're reliant on them to click the photo or click the actual call to action button. It just gives people more opportunity to actually engage where they are, where their eyesight is in that moment, which I think makes total sense. So when it comes to using things like emojis, what would you say about that? Does the use of emojis actually increase, one, catch people's attention as they're scrolling, and does it ultimately help with conversions, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's a great question. I got this asked by one of our members recently who said, I used emojis in our ad. Is that actually okay? And I was like, yes. I'm a massive fan of emojis in copy. And for a couple of reasons, and there's also caveats here, which is I'll start with a caveat, which is, if you are a brand, a big corporate brand, boring, not sexy, and that's totally okay, then trying to go over the top with emojis to try and be cool is probably not going to be a good way for you to go. Also, I've seen a few brands, let's an example of one I can remember was a bathroom company. So they'd come in and do your bathroom for you. they had an enormous amount of emojis, like an almost an annoying amount of emojis in their ad copy, and I was like, you really need to take that down a little bit. The what we're but the reason I love emojis is because if you think about how you speak to your friends and your family, you use emojis in everyday text language and everyday communication now. So there's no reason for us to avoid doing that in our ad copy. People are used in emoji language, if we want to call it that. And that's why I say, if you're a big corporate, unsexy brand, then perhaps emojis is just not part of the way that you communicate as a brand. And so it's not a good move to try and pretend that that's who you are. But if you are a personal brand or a fun, exciting brand, or just emojis as you as a person is how you communicate now, then by all means go and do it. In my ad copy, I quite like to just have a conversational tone because that's how I speak. And that's how I talk to customers and clients and friends and family. And so I'm not going to change my ad copy. I'm going to use emojis in my ad copies. And, in fact, even if you maybe aren't the most exciting brand or you don't use emojis, simply if we're talking about the benefits in our ad copy, rather than listing them as a big paragraph, it can be nicer from a formatting perspective to bullet point them out and use the emojis as bullet points. So absolutely love emojis in ad copy. And if you are somebody that uses them in your language every single day when you're texting, then absolutely stick them in your ad copy too.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of emojis myself, and I think line spacing is also important because you got to remember that people are scanning your ads, and making it easy for them to consume the copy and read the copy, I think is important. So having some spacing, sometimes breaking it up. I think the breakage comes with the line spacing as well as the emoji use. It's think about going to somebody's webpage and like just a text dump, right? There's no paragraphs, there's no headers, there's like who reads that anymore? Nobody, right? And if your ads show up like that as well, then chances are you're going to lose people just by the appearance of your ad copy versus what's being said. It could be amazing stuff. I've seen some blogs that have amazing content, but I'm not going to stay and read it because there's no breakage. It's not easy for me to consume the content. I'm definitely a scanner. I consume a lot of content quickly, and most people do these days. They're visual. They like the add in of the breakage and the emojis and things like that. So I do encourage you to use them within the framework of what Gavin said. If sometimes it doesn't make any sense, but the breakage does. You can do that regardless. So definitely encourage you to use some line spacing and that kind of thing. Okay, so I know you're a fan of this too, Gavin, and I definitely am. What works for me, what works for you, or what works for a client is doesn't always work for the next person. So when we're sharing our knowledge and our tricks and our tips for with others based on proven, we're not like, hey, go try this. Nobody else has ever tried it, and we don't know if it works or not. We try to share our best strategies and techniques and things that we know have worked. But the reality is that everybody has to do this one thing themselves, which is they have to what? They have to test it out. What do you agree that people need to find their own sweet sauce?
Oh, absolutely. And a successful Facebook ad campaign is one where you test absolutely everything. So I will always say there's only one assumption that you ever make in a Facebook ad campaign, and that is when you first create it. You're making your best guess, your best assumption that the message and the offer that you're putting out there is going to resonate with the audience that you're testing on Facebook. As soon as that campaign goes live and you start spending a bit of money and you start getting a bit of data back, such as, which ad were people clicking on, which ad was getting the results, from that point on, we never make any more assumptions because all we're doing is we're testing. So we're going, okay, this image worked well, this image didn't work well. So let's turn off this image. Let's try this image that did perform well again, but let's maybe change the copy slightly. Or let's test 4 different audiences rather than just testing one audience. This is a big problem I see is, when we create an ad campaign, we really want to be at least starting with 3 or 4 different audiences that we're testing, and maybe 3 or 4 different ads that we're testing to each audience. And oftentimes what we'll see is when somebody creates an ad campaign for the first time is they'll put an audience ad. And essentially what you're doing there is you're hoping to get a home run. You're hoping that that ad, the text in that ad, the image in that ad is going to perform well to that one audience. And if it doesn't perform well, then we've got no data because we're not comparing anything. So I like to pretend it's a scientific experiment where we're testing different audiences, we're testing different creative, we're testing different copy, even different offers sometimes, to see what performs best. And once we know what performs best, we can turn off the things that aren't performing and we can run some more tests. And I always say to my members is when we do this, your campaign will never not work. It's just a matter of time until it works because you're testing, you're testing, you're testing, and you're testing, and you're testing until something does eventually start to work. So I will say it till I'm blue in the face, but test absolutely everything.
Me too. I say the exact same thing. And it's so hard when you're first getting started because you want something to magically work out the gate. And honestly, there'll be components more than likely that will work, but some things are always, in my opinion, always broke in some aspects. So you have to circle back, figure those things out, test one thing at a time, so that you have some knowledge around what is working and what isn't. So maybe it's your headlines. You keep all your headlines the same, or you split test your headlines, or that maybe it's the copy, maybe it's your creatives. But you can't test everything all in one lump sum. You have to test them independent of one another so you understand what is broke. And Facebook ads give you a lot of capabilities now to do that split testing simultaneously, which is kind of a nice thing. So as before we ask Gavin where people can find him, because I see a lot of people are curious about where they can connect with you, Gavin. But before we do that, and I know we're going to be choosing our winners for the giveaways as well. Let's see if we have any questions that I haven't picked his brain on that you guys want to know. I know there was some questions that came through, so we'll take a few questions, and then, guys, I'll ask Gavin to share where you can find him because he is wicked smart. So Edward is saying all of this is gold. All right, excellent. Yes, I'm telling you guys, Gavin is incredible. He is. One thing I didn't ask him on the front side of this is like, hey, Gavin, how old are you? Do you mind sharing?
I'm having to think about that. 26. No.
So he's
yeah. I'm 20, yeah. I'm 26 in June.
okay. So he had to stop and think. So it's not just us old folks that forget how old we are. By the way, he's a young entrepreneur and he is wicked smart. So Joanne is saying, trying to sell healthcare services, strategies for that, ideas. What do you got for her?
Yeah, well, it's a topic that I love because we work a lot with healthcare practices. So, I mean, it's a tricky one because based on the services, there's a lot of restrictions and policies that you have to get around. You can't talk about personal attributes. You can't call people out. You can't say things like, "Are you looking to lose weight?" for example. We can't share before and after pictures. We can't make unrealistic claims, even if they are realistic. If Facebook thinks they're unrealistic, then we can't make them. So there's all these rules and regulations that we have to get around, which makes it a tricky industry. And so what I always, and to be honest, this is kind of what I say for all industries, is lead with an educational approach. So rather than saying things such as, "Are you looking to lose weight?" say things such as, "Learn how others are losing weight." And lead with an educational approach on, can you create video content around your topic that shows people how your system works, how your process works, a tour of your practice? And again, what offer can you make that the people, if you're helping people that are in pain, can you create an offer that is relevant to those people? And if people are in pain, sometimes it can be as little, and we see this working all the time, as little as, booking a free consultation to learn how others are finding relief to their back pain. So, in terms of strategies for any different niche, I always say they're the same, is lead with education and then have an offer that allows people that want more information or one-on-one or a solution to their problem now, give them that opportunity to take it.
Yeah, I love that. So it looks like Joanne won the ring light. Hey, Joanne, would you send a quick message? Click on the little button at the top of the fan page because it looks like you're here on Facebook. So if you click on the little, let me see where's it at? There you go. Send a message up at the top and shoot us your mailing address. We'll get that out to you. And same for Karen. Karen Klein won the little webcam cover. So Karen, if you will send us a message with your mailing address, we'll make sure we get this out to you ASAP. All right. And then easel winner number one is Sally Bridges Schiffer. Sally, you are going to love easel.com. And then we've got another one, Edward Palmer, 3 months of easel. Woohoo! That's a steal of a deal there. And then Paul, oh yay, Paul! I'm so glad you won. Excellent. So you'll be able to leverage easel.com. Great templates there. For those of you who've never used it, those that won the easel.com accounts, if you guys will send us a quick message with your email address. The physical products, obviously, we have to have a mailing address, but those that are winners for the easel.com account, if you'll send us your email address, that would be amazing, and we'll get that set up for you ASAP. All right, do we have any other questions? I want to be cognizant of Gavin's time, but if we have, we'll take one more question here if we have one. And I did see, so here's one from Susan. She says, any ideas about reaching prospective college students who are on the fence about accepting offers during this pandemic? It's a great question.
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, from a targeting perspective, you can target people based on the college or the school or the university they go to. So that gives you a really, really good starting point. And, from an advertising perspective, and this actually is a really good question because it brings up a very interesting point, is we've found that whenever we talk about COVID-19 or coronavirus in our ad copy, now, when I say this, I don't mean actually saying the word coronavirus or COVID-19, but we, in our ad copy, acknowledge the fact that we are in a weird situation right now. The ad always performs better. So whether that is you talking about how you're doing teleconsultations as opposed to in-person consultations now, or you are following certain guidelines, you have certain accreditations, or whether you are, in your case, perhaps delaying conversations with people, or there's all we need to do is acknowledge the fact that these people have these problems, or these they're not maybe willing to accept the offer right now. If we can acknowledge that concern in our ad copy, then it's going to perform better, in my experience. So you've got your targeting perspective, you've got your targeting side of things, target people at those colleges. Then in your ad copy, acknowledge the concerns that they have, and that is going to perform really well for you.
I love that. And I found the same thing. Even when I'm just talking, like even when I go live now, I always address the fact that we are in crazy times. Like, how are you guys doing? Like, I try to connect on that because we're all in the same boat right now, and everybody has a different pain point. We've got college seniors who are not graduating, who don't have all the college experiences. I'm sorry, all the senior experiences. That's sad to have that. They've got sports or whatever the case is. There's so many things that are going on right now, but the reality of it is that it's not just a small sliver of people; it's all of us. We're all in this crazy boat, and I agree that just addressing those things makes it seem like. It's not just makes it seem, it's the reality of it is they understand that we get them, that we understand that they have this dilemma right now, and that we potentially have a solution to that. And I think addressing it is absolutely the important thing to do, just from a humanity standpoint, but also from a results standpoint, because that's the core of ultimately why you're trying to reach out to them, is because you have a solution to this craziness that they have going on in their lives right now. Okay, Gavin. So all the people who've asked, where do they find you? Where can they connect with you and get more info? Maybe even potentially work with you if they want to.
Yeah, super simple. So at Mr. Gavin Bell on any social media platform. My favorites are Twitter and Instagram right now. So if you want to have a conversation, Twitter and Instagram at Mr. Gavin Bell. And my website is exactly the same. It's mrgavinbell.com, and that will link you to everything that I do.
That's awesome. So Mr. Gavin Bell, and it is with an I, so it's Gavin, and Bell is just like the bell. So you guys
Ding
can't
dong.
mess that one up. And definitely wicked smart. Obviously, as you guys have seen today, we've just touched on copy of all the pieces and parts. We really just wanted to give you guys some tips on ways to get your copy engaged with, because that's the first piece of it, right? So hopefully you've enjoyed the show today, and feel free to watch the replay. Connect with Gavin, and we appreciate you guys spending some time with us today. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, and God bless.